Hey everyone, guess who's back? It's Kamish back here with another draft preview. This time we got Danny, pretty much an original owner, and Billsy Bob's one of the worst win percentages career, but had his best season of history really for him last year. I believe he finished fourth, was it? So anyways, great year for you, Danny. You went all in. You won the division title, I believe. Yeah, it was one of those years for you where, you took the risk to try to get the title, and I think, a lot of teams did. I did the same, and I finished behind you. So obviously, you had a better year than I did, and I'm happy to see it because you've been always a great owner here. You've always had my back, and I respect you for it. And I couldn't ask for a better owner and better friend to have in the league, understanding how much work this takes to keep this going, especially when you have a family with 3 kids and 2 bands, and you respect that. So I really appreciate that. So I'm just going to get into your preview here. So just give me a moment here to get set up, and we'll get started here for you. Here we go, Billsy Bob's. So your current keepers, you're going with the 2-2-1 strategy, which I think is pretty smart. So Josh Allen, I think this guy's going to do way better now that Stephon Diggs is no longer a member of the Buffalo Bills. Diggs is pure cancer, and he's going to be pure cancer for Houston. All the hype there, you wait. Bet your money on the under for the wins for Houston. I think if there's any one bet that I think is going to go wrong, it's all the hype going for Houston. You'll see the sophomore slump with CJ Stroud, Stephon Diggs be a cancer. It could be wrong. I don't know the future. But that's right now what my gut is telling me. And I think Josh Allen's going to have a heck of a year in Buffalo, and he's going to continue being one of the top quarterbacks in fantasy for you. And of course, you traded for him off me. So I hope he does well for you. You got 2 aging running backs in your steed. Austin Eckler, now a Washington Commander. Not sure how that's going to feel or look or how well he's going to do, but you got to wonder if he's definitely going to be the passing down back. And I think Austin Eckler wants to stay in the league longer, and he's okay taking a step back. Less snaps to be more explosive. And if he can put up some explosive plays in the form of touchdowns being on the Washington Commanders, well, that's great news for you. And it very well can happen, especially since the offseason reports about Jaden Daniels has been so strong. You also have the veteran Alvin Kamara. I will be there in New Orleans for the home opener. So obviously Susie's team. So I'll be hoping for the Saints in that one over the Panthers. Second year in a row, I get to see the lowly Panthers, which is no better than a CFL squad, to be perfectly honest with you. I would probably imagine the BC Lions would give them a run for their money, to be honest. But Alvin Kamara has always been electric, but he did run into some, I guess you could say, legal or criminal issues there over the last little bit. And, when that happens, the NFL basically starts to disown you, depending on who you are and what color you are. So, anyways, that's the way it's going to go for Alvin Kamara, but I hope he does well for you. Wide receivers, you got one of the best, obviously, Jamar Chase. He's got the electric Joe Burrow throwing him the ball. And with Burrow there, Jamar Chase is going to have a big year. Remember, these guys played college together too. So what a connection. I would say Jamar Chase is definitely top 5. So to have a top 5 wide receiver is always going to be helping you in terms of winning games. And then you also picked up Kelvin Ridley. 1 year in Jacksonville, quick stop there. Now he's in Tennessee to have Will Levis throw the ball. So going from Trevor Lawrence to an even younger quarterback in Will Levis. Will Levis showed some tools last year, but that offensive line was just dreadful. So, as long as Levis has the time to throw the ball, Ridley should have another pretty decent year. But with D-Hop there as well, is it safe to say that maybe Ridley doesn't have as good as a year as he had against, or I guess you could say last year, right, with Jacksonville? And then Zaire Franklin, this guy's come out of, I don't want to say out of nowhere, but all of a sudden one of the top IDPs to own in fantasy because of the tackle volume with Indianapolis, and you've taken advantage. I believe at one time, it even been a year and a half ago, I picked this guy up on waivers in a league. It might even been in this league. I can't remember. But now all of a sudden he's an IDP that everyone wants to own. This is where things get interesting for you, Danny, and it's not the right kind of interesting. So again, I give you all the credit in the world. You went all in and you tried to win the league, and that's what a guy should try to do. Oh, sorry. That's what a guy should try to do. And you did. And, I can't fault you for it. But again, when you look at your rounds 1 to 10, you didn't trade your first rounder away. You remained steadfast that you weren't going to do that. And I like it. I mean, you will pick 17th. It's probably going to be a veteran at that point, could be a rookie. But you're in survival mode, I think. So likely you probably will have to pick a veteran who can at least produce something. And then you don't pick again till round 4. You got no round 7. So no 2 and 3, obviously. So only 7 picks in that first 10 rounds. Doesn't mean you can't still win with only having 7 and 10. I think it's really bad when you only have 5 and 10. But 7 and 10 is one of the worst draft pick scenarios out of any teams heading into the draft, which is going to be a concern for you. And then it gets even worse when you look at rounds 11 to 20. You have no 11, 12, 13. Those are IDP picks or flex picks for your offense. And that's going to hurt as well. So, you have some big gaps here early on in the draft, in the middle of the draft. And then in the last part of the draft, that's when you're going to start really filling up your lineup. I mean, 2 and 21, 2 and 24, 2 and 25, 2 and 26, 2 and 27. And ultimately, you don't see too many teams win when they have 14 picks in the last 9 and only 7 in the first 10. But, you proved yourself last year to show that you can be a winning team. You had the best year ever on record in this format. And I'd love to see that continue, but definitely going to be more difficult this year. Likely first pick. Sean's got you going veteran as well. Chris Godwin. He might still be there. I had Sean picking him earlier, but then things have changed in the ratings. So Chris Godwin might go a bit earlier than that. We'll have to see. I have it narrowed down to 4 wide receivers for you. I mean, by then, running backs, you're going to be picking probably a number 2 or a timeshare guy, bare minimum at that pick. So you might as well pick a good wide receiver. And right now, it's looking either it's going to be Christian Watson, Brian Thomas, Cortland Sutton, or Tyler Lockett. Again, I think you probably will steer towards the veteran because you're in a bit of a survival mode. But Brian Thomas also could put up Calvin Ridley numbers in Jacksonville if he's still around at that pick. The potential storylines here, well, Sean figures, hey, listen, Best is going to be 11th. Let me just get into his commentary here. But for myself, I mean, I see worst case scenario for you, Danny. You could literally be out of tier 1 if things don't go well for you this year. And again, I could very well, it's plausible that that could happen. Best case scenario for you right now, I think you're going 14th. You're a consolation team. I think it's a survival year for you. You have aging running backs. Josh Allen is what's going to keep you in most games, in my opinion. I think keeping the running backs is still the right move. It's just they're getting old and they're not true number 1s anymore, I feel. Sean's commentary is this: Billsy might be in trouble. 14 of his 29 picks are in round 21 or later. That's an issue. Kamara and Eckler are getting up there in football years, so he has the same kind of thoughts. Can they bounce back? He said, I think it's going to be tough this year. Worst case scenario, 18th, best case, 11th. I think he's being generous. That worst case is 18th because I think the worst case scenario for you, Danny, could be out of tier 1. Anyways, I do not blame you, though, for what you did last year. You did the right thing in terms of what you need to do in terms of trying to survive in the league. And I do apologize. I just noticed that last slide had Trustin Fields photo still, not yours. I just forgot to change the picture, and I do apologize for you, Danny. But I'll just reiterate again. Thank you so much for being here every year and committing to this. It's guys like you that make it worthwhile for me to do this because I know you truly appreciate the work put in behind it. And I just want to wish you the best of luck this year and just survive because you can be right back near the top again next year if you survive this year. Maybe, one thing to look at, trade those old running backs, Eckler, Kamara for draft capital if you have enough wins to survive before the deadline. I think that's the type of year you're looking at. And there's nothing wrong with that because you're just setting yourself up for the next year. Good luck this year, Danny.